Very quick,
you damn well please. Okay, so when the Koch brothers or Bloomberg or Soros puts in hundreds of millions of dollars into elections, you think, well, I'm just doing them because they're good guys and they damn well please buying all those politicians. Or you think, no, the politicians would never be affected by hundreds of millions of dollars in legalized bribes.
Okay.
And you can't just spend your money anywhere you want. Of course there are rules. You can't bribe people.
Right.
There's many things you can't do with your money. And one of those should be bribing politicians, but we made it legal.
Cenk.
So I'm curious what your opinion on that is. Do you think that they're just golly shucks?
Cenk,
they just mean well? And
Cenk, you're a lawyer, so you know that bribery requires two parties to the bribe.
And I follow this.
Money to a politician, there must be something in return. If there is no quid pro quo, there is no bribery.
You think there's nothing in return?
Well, you
think the politicians don't do those favors?
I think very often there is something in return, but I want you to point me to the things that are in return, not just say that all spending on politics ought to be forbidden except for the Young Turks.
No, that is of course not what we say.
The Young Turks.
If you want to get money out of politics and then you said the Young Turks cannot donate money to politicians, I'd say, of course, that's the whole point of getting money out of politics.
Wait, so
so this idea that you,
Come on.
It's so disingenuous. Even if you're a Republican and you're a conservative, you think there isn't crony capitalism? You think that $4.4 trillion that went in subsidies isn't because they got campaign donations? You know it's because they got campaign donations.
You know, all he's doing is, you know what? Cenk, this isn't a Disney movie. We don't want to watch Shrek. Okay? Don't be Shrek. That's not what we want. All right? This moderator, watch the moderator. He just doesn't know what to, he doesn't know if he's to interject. I'll tell you what, it's a lot better sitting on the sidelines than that idiot Clay Aiken when he was doing before, I think it was Ann Coulter and Ana Kasparian or whatever. I think he was in one of those, and he just interjected himself in the debate every single time. Unbelievable. Anyways, let's continue.
Okay, final question.
This is going to be the last word on this.
Final thing here on this, okay? Final question on this. So, Young Turks is super successful. We have 80 million uniques. It's wonderful. Do you think Bernie Sanders would care more if you gave him $10,000 or if you dedicated your entire network to kissing his ass for an election cycle?
Boom, chicka boom, 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 chicka boom, boom, chicka boom, 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 boom. Point takedown. Ben Shapiro. Let's see what the Cenkster Shrek Cenk has to say about that. I'm thinking.
So, two things about this. First of all, I think you and I will agree. That what we did in praising some of Bernie's programs, a lot of Bernie's programs, but not all. For example, I disagreed with him on guns, and I thought Hillary's education program was slightly better than Bernie's. And by the way, I agree with the Republicans on the Export-Import Bank. So it's not blind allegiance. That is not what we do, not remotely, okay? Second of all, I think you'll agree with me that the mainstream media kissing Hillary Clinton's ass for 2 straight years was a much bigger problem.
Would you outline?
Now, the distinction that you're asking for, and now I've answered, I think 4 times is, one is speech, and by the way, protected, you said life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I think we all agree to that. I got a big applause line. I also agree. And in our Constitution, the First Amendment is right to speech and freedom of the press. So that is that rubric. Money is not in the First Amendment. There is no right to spend money on politicians. Money is money, speech is speech.
All right, so let's do rapid fire now as we come to the close here. I think, by the way, there's wide agreement about the corruption in politics, maybe different ways of how to deal with it, but this has been a very good conversation. So I'll go first to Ben. As we look at 2020, what will be a winning message and who will be a winning candidate on the Republican side in 2020?
So, I think that the greatest ally that the Republicans have is the incompetence and stupidity of the Democratic Party. The 2016, in fact, I have a feeling that Cenk actually might agree with me on this, that 2016 election, Donald Trump became president of the United States. right? Hillary Clinton was the worst candidate in the history of mankind. And that had, so, you know, the Republican message I never thought was a particularly losing message. I just think that what we have right now is such a polarized politics that it's going to be very difficult for anybody to pass anything in this climate. I also think that what we have almost a reactionary feel on both sides. Like, what I like about this debate is that we're actually talking about ideas, which is actually pretty rare in this sphere. Well, what's become more common is that on the left, there's this retreat to intersectionality as an identity politics. This idea that if we can cobble together a group of people who are feeling victimized by American society, you know, we have black people and we have Hispanic people and we have women and we have gays and lesbians and transgenders, and they all feel really bad about how American politics is going. And if we push that notion, we can create a coalition. There'll be a brand new coalition never before seen in American politics, and that requires a woman to run, or that requires a black woman to run, or that requires a minority to run. If they do that, then what you're going to see from, and I think in an equally nasty way, from the right is a response that says, okay, well, if you're going to do identity politics, you will see some white identity politics from the right, which I think is really negative. I don't want to see either of those things. What I would like to see is the Democrats campaign on the bigger, on the stronger involvement of government in your life and higher taxes program that Cenk wants them to campaign on. The Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren program, and I would like to see the Republicans campaign on my program, a smaller government, libertarian program that says the government should get out of our lives as much as humanly possible.
All right, and for Cenk, what will be a winning message and who will be a winning candidate for Democrats in 2020?
Yeah. So
Wouldn't it be weird if this ended up being the stage?
That's what I told you guys backstage. This is a presidential debate.
Okay, so look, Ben, you said earlier that you didn't set up the big government, small government paradigm, but you just said you want them to run on a small government platform.
A less involvement in American
again,
lives, yes.
Small government doesn't make any sense. So let's break it down. You asked me about particular issues, so I'll give you one. So you were in favor of the Iraq War. That cost us at least $1.5 trillion. Then people turn around and say to Bernie Sanders, well, I mean, college for your kids are middle class. That's unaffordable. That's way too much money. You can't do that. That costs $75 billion a year. First of all, college for your kids, you know what that's called? That's called the American dream. And
I just have to stop it here because fair is fair. This is the problem. And, you know, Cenk, okay, you're bringing it up. I'm on your side on this. You're right. We write checks to foreign countries. We write checks to the IMF to bail other countries out. We give all kinds of foreign aid to other countries saying, oh, if we don't give them this foreign aid, then they're not going to be able to make their widgets and their gadgets and their gidgets and their widgets. And then their economy is going to crumble. And if their economy crumbles, then that affects us. We got to give them the money. And if some of that money or most of that money, okay, is wasted, it doesn't matter because we got plenty more because we can fleece the American people with more taxes and we got never-ending supply. But we got to help those people first because if we don't help them, it's going to harm us. In the meantime, we're getting harmed. So if there was a way, like they were saying, in terms of, you know, giving some, look, if we're already giving the money away, I hate government subsidies, but if we're giving government subsidies to corporations and companies for all kinds of innovations or all kinds of grants, whatever it is, loans, whatever. And we can give trillions of dollars to an Iraq war or any type of war. What if we had spent that trillions of dollars on schooling education? I agree with Cenk on this. Okay, props to him.
And for one Iraq war, for the cost of one Iraq war, we could have gotten 20 years of free college for all those kids and the American dream. So it isn't about big government or small government. It's about what do we do with the money. So that $1.5 trillion could have gone to us, could have gone to the middle class, could have gone to a better economy. Because when you go to college, you come out, you start businesses, you engage in this market, and you make things better and you employ people. We could have used that for us. Instead, we wasted it in Iraq. And by the way, I believe, Ben, you want to get tough on Iran, you want to, rip up the deal, etc. if you thought the Iraq War was a waste of blood and treasure, wait till you get a load of what happens in Iran. So we're not going to make that mistake again. We're not going to make that mistake again. So what would I want to, look, this idea of the identity, that Democrats are on identity politics, and some of them do. But let's not forget that Republicans do the same and worse. Who was the one who came up with the Southern strategy?
Try this strange
It was the Republican Party. And the Southern strategy was, let's go get racist white voters in the South. That's a fact. So, once again, it's this wonderful capitalist invention called Google. Google it. So, two Republican chairmen have said, yes, we did do that strategy, and we apologize. So that's a fact. They're the ones who invented identity politics. So when you like identity politics when it serves your interests, but all of a sudden when we say, hey, can black people have the same rights as white people? Oh, identity politics. Can gay people have the same rights as straight people? Identity politics.
They all have the same
It's
rights.
called equality. Look into it. It's called America, okay?
All right, well, I think we now know.
USA, USA, USA.
All right.
Equality for all of us.
Okay.
All right.
I want to respond to this is a
Ben,
point.
just very quickly, and then we'll have to
This
wrap
is
it
very
up.
quick,
Okay.
okay?
Very quick.
Okay, I want to respond to a point. This is a point that Cenk made last year in his debate with Dinesh repeatedly for about an hour. Was the Southern strategy with regard to the Republicans. Okay, I'd like to point out the idea that the entire South solidly moved into the Republican category because of the Civil Rights Act is historically false and has been debunked multiple times by people ranging from Sean Trent at Real Clear Politics to professors at the University of Pennsylvania. And there's a bunch of ways to debunk it, including the fact that the Congress did not switch Republican in the South until 1994. Okay, did it take 30 years for the racists to realize what was going on? 21 senators from the South were Democrats. How many of them became Republicans after the Civil Rights Act? The answer, 1. The other 20 stayed Democrats. In 1952, Eisenhower did not win a ton of the South. Eisenhower did win, however, 7 states in the South in 1956, after he sent federal troops down south. The reason that the Republican Party started to win in the South, it began in the 1950s, not after the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and it was largely due to the movement of industry down south. It was new fringe members of the Republican Party, younger members of the Republican Party, who switched over to the Republican Party in the South, not old Democrats, who remained old Democrats and are still old Democrats today.
All right. So I'm going to jump in here.
Okay,
Ben Shapiro, I wanted to come in there and basically say the same thing that Ben did, but I just wanted to let it, continue, because Ben just crushed him. Again, these guys are just Cenk the Cenk. Hey, Shrek, I was giving you some props before on some areas that we agreed on, but here you came back with the typical fake, false, lying narrative of the Southern strategy. Oh, look it up. Google it. You can look it up and Google it, okay? Just because it's on Wikipedia, but it doesn't mean it's true. As Ben Shapiro basically just said right now, that has been debunked, the Southern strategy. It started way before 1964 and the Civil Rights Movement. It was the Dixiecrats in the South. They stayed Dixiecrats. They stayed Democratic. They stayed bigoted. They stayed racist. Get your facts straight, Cenk. Get them straight. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch this series of the Politicon debates between Cenk the Cenk and Ben Shapiro. Part 5, that's what it was. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. And you've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Comment below. Let us know what you think. We'd really like you to share what you're feeling. Facts before feelings, feelings before facts. Come on, folks, do it. Anyways, I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.